Hi, Julie here. And today I am doing an episode of Spirit of Matter. And I'm doing that on Georg Kreisler. And Georg Kreisler is actually, was a German musician who was also, wrote satire. He wrote satire for music. And he lived around the Second World War. And after the Second World War, he had to flee Germany. And had a hard time to find himself in the States because he was so not American also with his lyrics. And I'm going to do something that is quite on the spot. And the reason I'm doing it this way is that I want you to be exposed to the way I work, to my work process, and not just the product itself. And I have seen his chart. I know he has something in Cancer. I don't know if it's Venus or whatever. I don't remember anything. So I'm going to just, right now on the spot, do a chart for him. And I'm going to use the kind help of uranian.matt, and you can see uranian.matt on Instagram. I will put the link down below. I'll put the name down below so you can check him out on Instagram. He does breakdown of popular songs by astrology. And he also pays great emphasis to the asteroids, not just the asteroids we used to talk about, Juno, Aries, Athena, Pallas, but also asteroids we've never heard of, like Orpheus for music. And I knew where satire came from in my chart, but I did not know what to look for in satire. And he told me Saturn, Uranus, rebellion. Saturn, Uranus, if you think about Aquarius, that makes sense, right? To change a structure, and structure is Capricorn, which is also ruled by Saturn. So definitely to look for, where Capricorn is, where Saturn is, where Uranus is, and where Aquarius is. And of course, Taurus and Gemini. Gemini's communication, Taurus is the singing, the voice, Venus, where is Venus? And to look at asteroid Orpheus, which shows music. So I'm going to look, his chart is, I got his chart details from Astrodienst, and I'm going to look it up. I put the asteroid Orpheus. I'm going to show you the number, Orpheus. The number for asteroid Orpheus is 3361 when you put it on Astrodienst. So you can, do the chart yourself and see it for yourself. So what's going to happen in this episode, I'm going to look a bit into Kreisler, look into his chart. Let's see, what do we see there? Right now I say, my predictions is in Capricorn and Aquarius, or maybe Taurus and Gemini would be in a public house. Public house like the 10th, like the 11th is a person who had a career as a public figure. So career as a public figure is 10th, 11th, ruler of the 10th in the 11th, ruler of the 11th in the 10th, something like that is my prediction. I don't remember anything of the chart. I would expect Mercury and Venus to have some kind of a harmonious aspect, communication and voice and singing, beautiful communication, but also have a flair to it. Maybe, a square to Saturn, maybe be in a water house. Mercury in a water house where it's kind of sensitive to things. Maybe it was Venus in Cancer or Mercury in Cancer. I don't remember what I saw in Cancer there. I would expect, I would expect a placement, entanglement with the 7th house, which is also a very political place. So maybe ruler of the 7th in the 11th, ruler of the 7th in the 10th. Showing that the career or the satire is somehow related to politics. And I would also expect activation of the 9th house, which is how he got into Spirit of Matter series. It's cosmology, it's 9th house. Because there is higher learning, there's philosophy, there's social critique. And that sort of critique has to do with political views, with religion, with worldview, and that is more of a 9th house. So these are things that I would expect to see active there. And I don't know about Orpheus, so well, I guess I'd expect to see aspects to Venus or to Mercury, or have Orpheus in a public house. That's my expectation. Never seen the chart. I mean, I've seen the chart. I don't remember anything of it. And after that, I'm going to explore also how does his chart interact with mine? What does he activate me? Why did I like him so much? I will do synastry and I will do composite. And this is very, very important when we want to present something and be more objective. I will present to you what is my relation to this person, so you can see what is projection, what comes from me, the bias, and what comes from the chart of Georg Kreisler. It is both very cute because you can understand what relations you have with other people. For example, if I take it back to the Feynman video I did, his Rao was where my Ketu is, his ascendant was where opposition my ascendant, in my 7th house, a very mirroring effect that there was there, and definitely it was a main character that escorted me through very hard crises in my life, and through his physics, through the looking at the world as energy and physics and matter, I managed to cope with deep psychological wounding, violence, and so on, and that kind of contributed to my path, which is why I was so, like, this person was so meaningful in my life. So my story with Kreisler is I just learned about his songs. I think I was also in a personal crisis back then, and I learned about some songs from Germany from that time, and I really loved his Kapitalisten-Lied. I think I was exposed to it in 2010 even, and Meine Freiheit, Deine Freiheit. Only recently I discovered he had some songs in English, like Please Shoot Your Husband, which is it is not political, but it is it shows its flavor. So if you're an English speaker and you don't know German, listen to Please Shoot Your Husband. I'm going to put, I think, the link down below, because it can give you the kind of the flavor of who was the person. And it is a very cute song that becomes better and funnier with each line. So you have satisfaction guaranteed. Now, without further ado, let's share the screen. Yes. Georg Kreisler. So let's take a look at his autobiography. Austrian-American cabaretist. Oh, that's how it's called, cabaret. That's the genre. A satirist, composer, and author. Very popular during the 50s and the 60s. In 1938, he was forced to flee from Nazi, it was Nazi Austria back then, because he was Jewish. So got married in 1941 and became American citizen in 1943. So he was enlisted in the army and he was stationed in Europe. So he escaped Europe and then he went to Europe being in the army. And he wrote songs for the soldiers of Britain and France. So after the war, he went to Hollywood. He also worked with Charlie Chaplin. Oh, I didn't know that. Performed at nightclubs, and he was rejected in 1947 for his songs Please Shoot Your Husband. And in 1955, he returned to Wien, then to Munich. He traveled a lot in his late years. He traveled a lot in general, but he definitely traveled a lot in his late years. So that would be interesting. I would expect maybe a 4th house in Sag or something, or I don't know, kind of an exile. That's an interesting thing. Master of language, black humor, criticism of society and politics. I would think something to do with Mercury or Venus and Saturn, because Saturn is kind of, you think about a Capricorn is kind of this, when I think of black humor, maybe Capricorn thingy, dry humor, Saturn is cold and dry, so dry humor. Caused him difficulties, and he had issues with people accepting him. Died in 22nd November 2011. So I guess it was around that time that I discovered his music. And he died in Austria. So we don't have the cause of death for those people who are looking to learn about seeing death of people in the chart. I don't recommend this. You might find out how your own death would look like. And from a personal experience, this is not nice. Yeah. Okay, so and the hour is 6 a.m. now. The hour, it was a personal statement. So we don't know if this is by birth certificate or not. He lived 89 years. humor. Okay, that's the guy. That's the guy. Those are the predictions, and let's get to the chart. So I do whole sign houses. And what do we see here? Venus in the 10th. Okay, singing, arts. And we have the moon there, sensitive place. We have Juno. That's really nice. He's Juno right next to my Venus. Oh, but not now. Aries in the 9th. So Aries, the rebelliousness. He read the Saturn. For me, it's Scorpio in the 9th. For him, Aries in the 9th. He has his midheaven there. Okay, so prominent midheaven in this 9th house of Aries, where Aries is fiery. It can be critical in the sense it can fight against something. And Chiron was there. So struggle, perhaps, could be seen there. 11th house Gemini. Oh my gosh, thank you, Matt. Thank you. Shout out to uranian.matt. This is so beautiful. 11th house in Gemini. So 11th house is where we are public. It is also where we would see our audience. It is allies and colleagues, but it is also the public life we have. Being a public figure is very much denoted in the 11th, not just the 10th. The 10th is career. And so Mercury is in the 12th. This is beautiful. Look at the stellium he has in the 12th in Cancer. Having a stellium in the 12th means tapping into collective consciousness or collective unconsciousness. You know, I would say collective consciousness is maybe the 9th, collective subconsciousness is the 12th. And look what a beautiful placement. He has Pluto there. He has Mercury there. He has Vesta there. It's the thing we dedicate ourselves to. And he has the Sun, all in Cancer, stellium in Cancer, very prominent water house, deep sensitivity to collective subconsciousness, and Mercury there. But Mercury, look what it's doing. Mercury and Pluto are contacting the moon in the 10th. So we have a connection between the 10th and the 12th. So the ruler of the 10th, no, the ruler of the 11th is in the 12th. Okay, so public figure, able to tap into collective unconscious. Another thing that happens with the 12th is seclusion, exile. So this person had to go on exile. This person had issues with being in public, you know, being a public figure. He was a public figure, was very known, but he had issues with that. You know, Mercury detracts from the 11th. The ruler of the 11th is in the 12th. It's a place of exile. It's a place of being transported. You know, he had to move. He had to flee by force. Didn't travel. He had to flee Austria to the States. And the States is also Cancerian. You know, Cancer. States is very Cancerian. I think the States has Cancer Sun. So this is the country of the United States. You could see it in the chart. I don't know for Austria what are they ruled by. And you can see Pluto there. So issues of power dynamics, subconscious things, but it's supported by the moon. It's supported by the moon in the 10th, in the career, moon exalted in Taurus. Okay, it has a funny aspect to Neptune, and Neptune is conjuncting the ascendant. Ascendant in Leo. So ascendant in Leo, an actor, a public figure, a sun that shines and radiates. And with Neptune, it can give it kind of even a mythical thing. It can give issues with perhaps with boundaries or ego, or like kind of a fog around the way the person presents themselves to the world. But this is a very prominent placement, you know, ascendant in a very prominent placement. It is supported by Mars in the 5th. Mars is in Sagittarius. And look at Mars. Mars is the way we initiate in the world. It is in the 5th house, so it's kind of, it's entertainment. Okay, so we have Sagittarius, another fire sign, expansive sign. And Mars there is just even more expansive, even more initiative in terms of culture, fun, but culture, not the serious culture. Plays, music, theater is very much denoted by the 50s, where we go to do our hobbies, where we enjoy culture for leisure time. So that's where he has Sag, a very fiery sign, very active, and a Mars there, so initiative, very supportive of his life path in the ascendant in Leo. The Sun, however, is in the 12th. Yet another difficulty. You know, the Sun, the ruler of the first, in the 12th, is difficult because it can detract from the body. The 12th is what we lose, right? Losses of the first, losses of the body, the identity, losses that he had to deal with 12th house things to regain his identity, to regain his ability to be an individual in the world. I had a lot of struggles with that. Okay, but then ruler of the 12th in the 10th makes it public. His inner struggles, when he did deal with them, they became music, they became something public. They became his career, they became a source of force, of inner empowerment. When you have ruler of the 12th in the 10th, dealing with 12th house things nourishes your 10th. I have this also in my chart, different placements completely, and I can definitely testify this is standing true to facts. So Venus is in Virgo, is in Earth sign. It's opposition in Uranus. So I can definitely see how Please Shoot Your Husband is written by a person who has Venus opposition in Uranus. And Uranus in the 8th house, house of the gate of life and death, not from a scorpionic place. I do separation from signs and houses. Again, check the astrology podcast if you want to know how to do that. Check Heather Eland if you want to know how to do the separation from houses and signs. So you have more accuracy, another level of analysis when you do astrology. So Venus opposition Uranus. Uranus is rebelliousness, and we have it in the 8th. 8 is the resources of others. It's also the gate of life and death, depth as well. Therefore, it can be intimacy, but not necessarily a 5th house. It's not a fun and joy intimacy. It can be more karmic intimacy. I guess people relate it to Scorpio because of that, but it is less intimate in ancient times, or traditionally it is not considered a sex placement. I might talk about Jung and Sabina in future episodes. I have energy cleansing to do around these characters, so I would give you a more updated view of their charts and their synastry and composite. I cannot have houses there, but definitely there is something very interesting that went on between Carl Jung and Sabina. I think Sabina Finkelstein, his patient, that later became a psychiatrist and is actually the owner of a lot of the ideas we ascribe to Jung. But Uranus in the 8th, opposition in Venus, this can definitely give us a song like, you know, Please Shoot Your Husband. Venus in the Virgo. Virgo is detail oriented. There are many things you can say about Virgo, but Virgo is very, I could say nitpicking. It's one of his both shadow side, but also fun sides, because he can be really good at it. Virgo can be really good at noticing the frequency, the sensitive frequencies, and bringing them to light. And we can see Virgo here makes another aspect to the 10th house, to the moon. For sensitivity, moon to details. A love of details, sensitivity to details. So criticism is very much involved. Critique is very much involved with a Virgo placement. And of course, Mercury is ruler not only of Gemini, but also of Virgo. So the ruler of the 2nd, again in the 12th. So think about it, we have the ruler of the 1st in the 12th, the ruler of the 11th and the 2nd in the 12th. A lot of not easy placements, a lot of isolations, and they make hard aspects here to Libra. And where's Libra? Libra is where we expect to find balance and harmony. It's where we look for to please others and to create harmony. And he has his Rahu there. He has Saturn there, which creates difficulties in creating this harmony. 3rd house can be siblings. It can be also routine things we do every day, like going to the grocery store or our neighbors. So Saturn can mean you not knowing your neighbors so much, not being too deep of a contact with the siblings, or having delay in these relationships. And again, affected by the 12th, Rahu affected by the 12th, very strong 12th. With people who are artists, who are even leaders, as I would expect with Jung, but I don't know if we have his birth time, there is tapping into collective unconsciousness. And when there is a stellium there, there is also isolation, there is also can be exile, there are also difficulties with the things of the 12th. And then we have Jupiter there, Habatina Palace. We have Jupiter there. Jupiter kind of well aspected to Mars. Yes. So, but the in conjunct with Uranus and Saturn, look at that. Look at that. In conjunct, I know evolutionary astrology looks at in conjunct as a chironic angle. I previously talked about the in conjunct as actually a Uranian thingy, because the in conjunct is 150, it is 60 plus 90, and I talked about these numbers as 60 being extreme yang that turns into yin, and 90 being extreme yin that turns into yang. So it's the point of transition from yin to yang, and two extreme yin and extreme yang meet each other, and it's explosive. We don't know how it's going to go. So a lot of unpredictability, a lot of explosion of the order, you know, having, for example, right now in the heavens, we were having the Saturn square Uranus. So the square is a potential, actually it's a Mars angle, it's 90. This is why I said 9 is 3 times 3, it's yin that turns into yang. So a lot of yang. And it was warlike. In Israel, we had the mini war. It was not the only angle involved in the mini war. You need to have more than that to activate the conflict. But it is very conflictual. It's a very conflictual angle. And think about this as a person who grew in 90, yeah, he had to flee in 1938. He was born in 1922. Very conflictual times. He has it in his natal chart. Okay. Uranus was in Taurus. It was in his 10th house during the war. So during the Second World War, it was in his 10th house. So the war was, his career was very much affected by the war that went on, by the things that went on in Taurus during the Second World War. So Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius and Capricorn, and indeed we see a 7th house activity. So the 7th house looks empty. 7th house is in Aquarius. Aquarius likes things like it sees people as equal. It sees a structure that, if Capricorn is a structure that is like a pyramid, Aquarius is a structure that is without hierarchy. It's not anarchy. It is order. There's a reason why Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. There is order, but it's not a hierarchical order. And so in his 7th, that he has in the house that is political, that is where we come into contact with the other, he saw people as equal. He saw people as, or politics is something that has to be equal, as something that has to be shaken, as something that that is airy, that is exposed, that has less density, or at least that's how it should be, not how it is, but how it should be. Aquarius is a lot about how things should be. This is how society should look like. And his ruler, Saturn, creates an inconjunct with Uranus. So very explosive, revolutionary, okay? And we have Orpheus in the 6th. Orpheus is music, it's many things. Let's like take a look at Orpheus. Orpheus, it's what we long for. It's what we, with people, it can be longing for what we cannot attain. Also an aspect of please shoot your husband. But it is also music, according to uranian.matt. And it can talk about missed opportunity. So yeah. So Orpheus, that which also relates to music, is in the 6th house, and 6th house is where it's in Capricorn. So ruler of the 6th, the what he did as work every day, and ruler of the 7th, the political house, how he interacted with his, in one-to-one encounters, but also the political house, ruled by Saturn. So again, music as a work. Music is something that he does as work. And the 6th is not, it's not a business. The 3rd is a business. It can be entrepreneurship, it can be seen in the 2nd, can be seen in the 3rd. Stellium in the 3rd, so definitely a person who had to find his income, had to be, a self-made musician, had difficulties maybe with getting into a situation of being self-employed. But the 6th is also where we serve others. It's also what balances the 12th. So balancing of these conflicts of the 12th through music. And the ruler is in the 3rd. So 3rd is also it can also be seen as the songs that we write, because songs is not a book. It's not a thing that we would see in the 9th. In the 9th, you could write a novel. In the 3rd, you could write a blog. You could write a song. So the ruler of the 6th is writing songs that are revolutionary. Okay, deal with matters of life and death. Deal with politics, 7th house. And we have an action aspect to Mercury. So difficulty to express himself, perhaps at work, in music, difficulty to be accepted by the collective society. What else do I see here? Talked about rulers. So Venus is ruling the 10th, the moon, exalted moon, this ruler, whereas Scorpio in the 4th. Scorpio in the 4th, ruler of the 4th in the 5th. Oh, this is beautiful. Remember what I said about him traveling? It's also late in life, traveling a lot. So within Germany, he moved around a lot. And the ruler of the 4th, look where he is. It is in Sag. Forget about the 5th for a minute. It's in Sagittarius, it's traveling. So home is traveling. And the homeland with the 4th in Scorpio can be very deep, emotional connections that is disrupted with the motherland. And the ruler is aspected by Uranus in a hard aspect. So difficult connections to the motherland, difficult connections to Germany. What did he do in the army? He wrote songs for the soldiers of France and Britain. He was like the male Marlene Dietrich. Oh my God, he was like the male Marlene Dietrich. I never thought about it until now. Marlene Dietrich, I might do an episode on her because she, but I think people probably have done her, but if they didn't, then I will do an episode on Marlene Dietrich. She was also, she was raised in Germany, was an actress, femme fatale movies, and she was singing for American soldiers. Later in life, she had a song where she apologizes to the motherland, to Germany, for singing, in favor of the soldiers that came to conquer her, and had a very difficult emotional relationship with the motherland. So this action potential, it's a Mars angle between Mars and Uranus, with the motherland is in the 4th. With the motherland can be seen in his art, can be seen in his life path, can be seen also hard aspect to Venus, can be seen in his artistic expression, can be seen in what he did for livings, ruler of the 6th. Okay, so this prominent Mars, this is why looking at rulership is so important, because it gives you another level of analysis of the chart. So that is interesting. And the ruler of the 3rd in the 2nd. So perhaps making money from songs, making money from writing music, but we see this is obstructed. This is not something that came easily to him. You also have the ruler of the 8th, Jupiter, and the 5th in the 3rd. So a lot of connections between these houses. Yes. Ruler of the 8th in the 1st, the modern. I do look at modern rulers. Ruler of the 7th in the 8th. So this 8-1 axis, maybe gate of life and death. Maybe I've been identified with the resources of others, but I don't know his life deep enough to assert anything there. Chiron is struggles. The struggle is our teaching, and his wound was definitely struggles with the worldview. His worldview was not accepted. He was a Jew during the Nazi era. Then he moved to the States and just expressing himself and his satire, he was not accepted, you know, with these lyrics like "Please shoot your husband." This is so not American. It was so German in America. And then he moved back to Germany. He traveled. You know, his worldviews were not accepted by society. It was a struggle about the worldviews, about forming the worldviews, about the worldviews being accepted. But his midheaven was related to that. They're not conjunct, but the midheaven is definitely related to a person whose worldview is prominent. We now know Kreisler because of his music, but we listen to Kreisler not because he has a nice voice, and not because he makes the most beautiful songs. The songs are beautiful. We listen to Georg Kreisler because his worldview that is expressed in his songs is so interesting and so rebellious of the time that in retrospective, looking at these songs after the war, knowing that that was a voice that expressed itself as opposed to the Nazi regime and as opposed to the mainstream American voices, is something that carries value in society. So that's Georg Kreisler. And now I'm going to look at, you know, after telling you all of that, I'm going to look at first the synastry of Georg Kreisler and myself, so that you can take a look and see how much of this is actually related to me and how much of this is actually Kreisler. Okay. So synastry first. And you can see both his moon and his Juno conjunct my Venus. So definitely I liked his music. Definitely I listened to him a lot. Definitely it was a prominent musician, prominent figure in my life that perhaps was like a soul sibling. Yes, the 3rd for me, the 10th for him. He activated the 3rd for me. He activated the songs that I would listen to every day, that I would return to every day, that I would feel emotional connection, because Venus is connection, so emotional connection as a figure that was prominent in my life more than I had been aware of. You know, having Juno next to your Venus is a person who is a soul contact that is significant in your life. And his MC next to my Mercury. So again, another important connection, my communication, satire, perhaps a figure that I was not even aware that had shaped my decision to write satire myself when a certain crisis came into my life. Perhaps that was the meaning of it, that I was not even aware of if I would not look at the chart. Yes, it's Lilith next to my ascendant. He's not alive, so I don't think I would experience it so much. That would be something that the other person would experience. His 11th was in Gemini. And in the 11th, you can also see the audience. And look what I have in Gemini. I have Juno there. I have Rahu there, and I have Chiron there. So I have a sort of a stellium. It's not, it's not a personal planet, but sort of a stellium in Gemini, where you can see my placement. That is my fourth, my home. Talk about the motherland, my home, what I consider as a part of the motherland, the culture I consider as a part of the motherland, and maybe some of my ancestors, is his 11th, his public figure. So I was his audience. And how did it was not just that I was the audience of his music. You can see me, the audience in his chart in the 11th, but also that for me, the audience, be it particularly Shirley, not all of his audience, Gemini was the fourth. So it was like home to me, listening to him. And it's true. A lot of the, even Jewish people who came from Europe and did satire in Hebrew, they sound a lot like him. It was definitely like listening to the culture that I came from. So very much like home is very much how I got to his songs, because listening to that kind of German culture was returning home to me. Okay. The fifth. Okay, fifth is what we do for leisure time. It can be the songs we listen to. It can be the shows that we go to. So I have a moon there, I have Cancer there, I have Vesta there. Next to is Mercury. Mercury next to Vesta. Okay, so this connection is like an emotional connection to the timeline that he represents, to what he expressed, to what he tapped into in his music. It was like fifth to me. It was like joy to me. It is a joy for me to listen to his music. It's a house of joy to listen to his music. Oh, I did not check dignification. Is there any planet that is joy? No, they're not joyous. They're out of joy. These planets are not joyful. So yes, the sun is the 12th, definitely not happy. Okay. Leo is my 6th house. He had ascendant there. So 6th house is what we do for work, everyday work. Okay, maybe you can go loosely and say, oh, I'm doing a chart and analysis of this musician. You maybe can see it in my 6th. I don't know. That's loose connection. Virgo, his Venus in my 7th house. So Venus in my 7th house, creating, it's also, Venus, we think of the 7th as the marriage partner, the one-to-one relationship, or the relationship with the boss even, or even the neighbor in front of us, not the neighbor that is sibling, it's the tree. The things that we are in the German, there's a German word called Gegenüber, the person who is in front of the mirror, like in front of us, opposing us. So, but it is also political. So the places where I can relate to nitpicking in politics, to having, a satire around politics. Yeah, Venus in the 7th, Venus triggering the 7th. This for me is a more political placement. So he touches my 7th in a way that is political, not in a way that is personal, like, coming. It is true that somebody with their Venus in your 7th can be a person you maybe feel connected to as one-to-one partner or romantic partner, but not necessarily. It can also be political. Someone that you like politically can be also. Libra house. So for me, it is the 8th. For him, the 3rd. A lot of planets in my 8th. I don't know what that means for me. Activating my 8th. Maybe it is a good thing that we don't live together or something. Scorpio again, for him the 4th, for me the 9th. This is prominent because for me, higher learning, worldview, philosophy, also a place where we can see elements of Saturn. I have Mars there, I have Saturn there, I have Pluto there. For him, it is the 4th. For him, it was perhaps the motherland. His criticism of the motherland can be seen in his chart. So me connecting philosophically to his motherland definitely can be seen here. 10th, okay, Uranus and Mars. I like that placement, very rebellious placement. but I don't know if it's much to do when we are not alive or in connection. I have my MC there. For him, it is the 5th. Okay, nothing too smart to say about that. But you know, it's a public place, so he's seen in a public place. His art, his leisure time, his music, his performances, his theater is seen right now publicly through my career as an astrologer, analyzing his initiation in this field. Orpheus. So for me, oh, this is interesting. 11, public figure, the things I do publicly and also the way I am as a public figure. So for me, my audience could be seen as Capricorn, could be seen as people with Capricorn placements. His music, okay, me doing this video, analyzing his music, now puts us in the 11th. Now puts me, it's projected through my 11th. Now you hear about him through me, being my audience. So it is very, hey, Naya, what's going on? Okay, so it is very interesting maybe to know your chart as audience. You're very welcome to send me your chart. What is in your Capricorn house? How do we relate as audience? And his 7th is my 12th. So 12th is also the place where we tap into collective subconsciousness. And for him, it's the political house. So for me, I tap into the collective subconsciousness of imagining the world as democratic, as individualistic, as ideal. This is for me is very much the 12th. So when I tap into this collective unconsciousness, whom do I meet? I meet the person who was activist in exactly those fields through music and so on and so forth. I think I went through everything, right? 9, 8. His 8 is my first. I don't know what that means. Don't kill me. Yeah, don't kill me. And 9th, my 2nd. So his 9th is my 2nd. The project. Oh, you can see entrepreneurship. So for me, Aries is the entrepreneurship. I have Mercury there. I have Orpheus there. Oh my gosh, I can make money making music. I should do music more. But it is, okay, if anybody would be so obsessive as to research me and my past, they would definitely see a connection between the Orpheus, the music, and the wound of Lilith. Definitely into a 7 was activated. Wow. Okay, I learned something new. Thank you, uranian.matt, for mentioning your Orpheus. Making music in relation to wounding and sexual wounding, sexual trauma, and music being affected by sexual trauma, trauma affecting the desire to make music, longing for some, I don't know, something that's not attainable or whatever in society. So interesting. So I have Mercury there, and Mercury in Aries, you know, communication, initiation. I have opposition Pluto. Entrepreneurship is also very Mercury, Aries in the 2nd is an entrepreneurship. So my project, Spirit of Matter, is an entrepreneurship project that I have in connection to my Pluto in the 9th in Scorpio. So worldviews, cosmology, also satire, and also music. And here I am making an entrepreneurship product, you know, being an entrepreneur. And who is in there? A person whose worldviews fall into that. And I'm analyzing people's 9th houses, and this is what I do as entrepreneurship. Okay, so he brings his wound there, he brings his Chiron there, he brings his MC there. That's the synastry, just from the synastry. It's just how you and that figure relate. And you would think, I would never think that this person is all that significant in my life, although I should have known. I met him actually after a crisis I had that was related to music and unhealthy dynamics that was created in the music community that I was part of. And that person that I had the conflict with was German. I didn't think about this. And then Georg Kreisler wrote Satire, and his satire kind of helped me heal. Oh my God, this is really interesting. It brings Chiron, this healing. Wow. Who would have known? I did not know that. I forgot all about it. It was just an artist that I love listening to. That's the beauty of doing astrology. Okay, so you now know what is me, projecting me, my ideals, my emotional connections that I did not even know or was aware of that I had. For those people who say astrology is not a science or not methodical, it can be very supportive of method and science. And now we're going to look at the composite, and the composite is, not Davidson, composite. The composite represents what happens, now that I've made this analysis. What does the energy of Shirley, the scientist, the astrologer, the cosmologer, and Kreisler, the musician, the now dead musician, when they combine together, what do they make as a unit? What is the character of this entanglement of energetic atoms? And we can see Orpheus there, right up at the bottom, career. Music, career, very connected to the MC. The signs don't matter so much in the composite. We can see Pluto prominent in the 4th. I don't know if I can do it as a mundane, as the people or the motherland, I don't know. Remember Venus in the 2nd now with Vesta. A lot of first house placements. So first house placements for a composite just make it very Gemini. Oh, I love AC in Gemini. We don't know if for sure if it was his birth time. Maybe, all that I'm saying is askew because we had a different birth time. It was not exact. I don't know. But if it was, ascendant is in Gemini and a composite is something that I really like. It means that when you see the two people, what you see is what you get. What's inside the relationship is what's outside of it. The vibrancy, the vitality, the exchange of ideas, you see them outside. For example, if it is in Taurus, it means that everything would look nice on the outside, but you don't know what's inside. We have Juno in the 12th, so and Chiron in the 12th, so themes to do with healing of collective subconscious. And a prominent soul contract related to that. Or soul connection, not necessarily soul contract, is something else. A stellium in the 1st. Very individualistic. Very much a lot of placements on the emphasis of identity, of expression. Okay. Very strong first house placement. We would probably not be the best couple. We have Mars in the 7th, so there could be like war, and you can have Mars opposition ascendant. So this means that as persons, we would have a lot of struggles, a lot of fights, also perhaps intellectually, Mercury and Mars. Saturn square Uranus, again, the act of rebelliousness. So this would mean basically that if we were in person, we could very much be rebellious of each other. And you can see how the composite is different to the synastry. Very tough Pluto placements, criticism of ideas, power struggles. Pluto in harsh aspect to Jupiter for people can even mean it's repress of the joy of another, but it can also mean children. So not a good placement for, you have to look, maybe I should not say it because I don't want people to take it and, oh, I see this aspect and oh my God, no, I would not say it. Because you always need more than one aspect to say something about a chart. So if you're not like a student of astrology and don't know how to look at these things in full context, then perhaps it is good not to say that. Because it's not necessarily true, not because I'm hiding something from you. Pluto Mars, again, power struggles, really harsh aspects. we are We are far better off separated in this life. Rahu in the third, things we do every day. I don't know what that means. Saturn in the fifth, again, for people can delay joy, delay gratification, delay children, illusions around that. So maybe illusions around each other. Although Neptune is supported by the moon and Saturn is supported by the moon. Anything else interesting? Yeah, Uranus and Mercury are supported, so they can maybe somehow mitigate the hard aspects with Mars. No, nothing important to say about that. I don't have anything smart to say about that. So that was Georg Kreisler. Let's stop sharing the screen. That was Georg Kreisler, and I really enjoyed doing this. I discovered new things about myself. I'd never checked Orpheus in my chart. So it's really interesting to know that it was my second house, that it's next to Lilith, True Lilith. I work with True Lilith. Tom, what do I want to say? Tom Waits when I say his name. Tom Jacobs. Tom Waits, another one I should do a chart for. Tom Jacobs, who is a medium, astrologer, and channeler and healer. He works with True Lilith and not Black Moon Lilith, and he has a very cheeky saying that to look at Lilith and to look at Black Moon Lilith and instead of True Lilith, it's like to ask a blow-up doll what the woman is like. And he said that over and over again. I was like, okay, I will look at True Lilith. So that's why I use True Lilith. Although I'm sure Black Moon Lilith can give a lot of explanatory power too. This is not the rigorous thing. Try, play with it, do that. Let me know what do you have in your 11th house. Where what are your natal placements? What do you activate in my chart? What does my chart activate in you? Now that you've seen my chart more than once. I will put the links down below to Georg Kreisler, to uranian.matt. Thank you so much, uranian.matt. Shout out to uranian.matt for the help of making this video and the connection with Orpheus and what to look for. That was very exciting for me. I managed to say a lot more than I thought I could say. So really do that. That was a work in process. I did not look. I looked at the chart earlier. I did not remember anything. That's how it's done. As we go, I just looked at it, and as we go, I prepared a reading, and this is the final product. I love doing it this way. And so you can see it's not, at the beginning you will need to read, to return, maybe I should look at this, and what does that sign mean, and what does that sign mean? Yes, you might not be able to flow as I do. So I don't want you to take this from I don't want you to see me doing that and think, oh my gosh, I could never do that. No, I want you to see me doing that and see how it took me time to realize what I'm seeing here. For Feynman, I did this, and it took me time to realize that I didn't even talk about this ascendant, that is just in my 7th house. So it's another aspect of mirror. But I want you to take a look at the process of thinking and understand that it's something you do as you go. So if you are studying astrology, do such videos yourself, post such videos yourself. You can send me a link, and if you want to know where your placements are, you can go to astro.com. You can choose in the extended chart selection, you can choose the house system. I use Wholeson. You can use whatever house system you want to try, and test these things for yourselves. If you want me to take a look at another composer, at another leader, at another cosmologer, physicist, scientist, and you have a name for me that you want me to look into, let me know in the comments below. If you don't have the birth time of this person, I may try to contact this person using exactly the predictions that I do and tell him what do I predict seeing in his chart, and ask for the birth certificate of the hour. There are many scientists that we don't have their birth chart. Leonard Susskind, we don't have his birth chart. Right now he's on vacation, but it's not available for reading, but I will try to get his birth time. Neil deGrasse, we don't have his birth time. yeah, I contacted Douglas Hofstetter, so I don't know if you will see it, but at least, you know, we can try, because there is so much division between astrology and cosmology that in the discourse, that it had gotten to a place where we don't even have the birth times of prominent thinkers of our century. It is one thing to disagree, you know, it is one thing to disagree on whether astrology is even a science. It's a completely different thing to deprive someone of the data that they need to check and experiment and see if their hypotheses are correct. So not to have the birth time of prominent thing, not to have the birth time of Leonard Susskind, this is inconceivable. This is one of the greatest thinkers of our time. He invented was a part of the founders of string theory. You know, now the universe is a holographic universe. You know, I will definitely do, I'm waiting for him to return from his vacation. And I would definitely try to contact and get the birth time for these people. They don't have to agree with me. They don't have to like me. They don't have to like astrology, but we need the data for there to be a discourse at all. Because if we don't have something to analyze, you cannot guess the sign of someone. That's not how astrology works. There are methods. There are things you predict seeing in the chart, and then you can see, oh, what do I predict seeing and activated in the chart? And then let's see if it's activated. Look what I did with Kreisler. Okay, Matt told me, oh, look at Taurus, look at Gemini, look at Aquarius, look at Capricorn. What did I see? Taurus in the 10th, art, Gemini, communication in the 11th, public figure, Aquarius in the political house 7th, and in the 6th, Capricorn. And the rulers are intermeshed. And Cancer, and all these things I saw, I didn't even expect to see them. So you can see how astrology is something that can have predictions. It's something that we can make prediction about and check. It might not be as elaborated as, you know, quantum physics or the energy of light, but we can make predictions and test them in charts. And this is a great chance to do it with people that we haven't looked at their charts just yet. Try to do it yourself and see what you can find there. So this is a part of my Spirit of Matter project. It is a project that is designed to bring together the discourse of astrology and cosmology and sciences and culture, and reintegrate them from a place of honoring the role of scientific materialism and the separation between spiritual and intuitive ways of understanding the world, even with or without using more scientific methods, and rigorous science that takes away intuition and just looks at the facts, like Asperger science, in the sense that Asperger people are looking at patterns, and they're not so good with things that are more chaotic. They need order, and they're excellent in finding order in chaos. So I'm looking to reintegrate the sciences with honor to scientific materialism, and not to disregard the wealth of knowledge and the wealth of analogies and the wealth of language that we now have to talk about cosmology, because there were people who isolated the mind faculties and delved into them so that they can have, so that we can later reintegrate the way we do with dancing. And I always love the belly dancing analogy, where we want to work with the complex movement. We work with the upper body movement, the lower body movement, alone, separately, and then we integrate them. And it takes time and dedication to do that and to gain flow doing that. So it is the same with the scientific endeavor. If I want to do something cognitively and I suddenly get channeling, then it's difficult to understand what came from the cognitive thinking, what came from the channeling, the intuitive. Some people separate that. And so if they're not able to channel, they can do only the cognitive. And if they're not able to do the cognitive, they can do only the channeling and learn from both. So we need to understand our different paradigms, our different epistemic standards, our different epistemologies, what we consider science. They all are important voices in the world, and we can accept each other and nourish each other and integrate the sciences in a way that is much more whole and welcoming and beautiful. That's what we are meant to do, not to get stuck in one pattern, but to go through this phase and then reintegrate. So like this video. If you liked it, it serves the algorithm. If you know people who are respectful, who are in that kind of vibration of a discourse that is respectful, that is loving, that is expansive on the sciences and astrology and what I do here in Spirit of Matter, please let them know about my videos. I'm not looking to, I'm not looking for the whole world to know me. I'm looking for the people who can have such a discourse and are open to that, to participate, so that we can advance this project of scientific endeavor. Do subscribe and also click the bell. Make sure you get all the notifications, because if you want to see upcoming episodes from me, it's not enough to subscribe. You have to click the bell and make sure you receive all notifications. So yeah, that's it. And I'll see you in my next video. I'm also on Instagram and on Twitter. I'll put the links below, and on Facebook, so you can contact me. If you want to donate the project of Spirit of Matter, right now I currently am checking how can I receive funds from people abroad, because I need to know how do I do that with all the bureaucracy of that, and I don't want to do that during the Mercury retrograde. But what you can do is let me know who do you want to hear. If you have birth times of people that are not known, if you have Leonard Susskind's birth time, if you have Neil deGrasse's birth time, if you have birth times or access to people that are cosmologists, that are scientists, that that we don't have the birth data, let me know, contact me if you can reach that, so we can progress, progress our astrology science. Another help I need with the project, well, to share it with people who are respectful. This is important, that the people who come to this channel will be respectful. It's not an easy task to integrate in the sciences, go through the questions of the mind, the body-mind question, what is beyond death, triggered by all kinds of events, what do we consider real, and so on and so forth. What can we know? These are very hard questions psychologically to deal with. So I definitely am looking for people who are up to it and who are open to that and who are respectfully discussing that from a place of acceptance and not from a place of disowning another person's worldview. Yeah, and that's the kind of help I need. If you want to book a reading with me, there is a special way I do readings. For me, reading is about expansion and play, and not so much about being, your psychologist or your consultant in that sense. So if you are just curious to know more about your chart, if you're curious to learn more about yourself, not necessarily, you can have a question that you want me to ask me, but from a place that is more playful, is less like kind of serious, then you're very welcome to book a reading with me. And you can contact me in private, and I'd love to be a part of your journey of exploration. So I'll see you on my next video. Have a great day.